Yes, yes, man. Education is elevation. Today we having a nice, real, raw, organic conversation with y'all because we know the climate that we living in. It's almost sometimes I feel like the world is going to fire around me, and I'm worried about folding up clothes and stressing about washing the dishes. Man, today we got a very amazing, guest, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressely. I'm finna bring her up, and when I bring her up, I just want to tell you something because it's really been on my heart since the first time I seen you, and then it all set in. My mother and my sister, they also live with alopecia, right? And my little sister is like she younger, you know what I mean. So you know what I mean. In the community, you get called bald head. You know what I'm saying. Your femininity and womanhood gets trivialized and called into question. So I just want to tell you. You feel me? The way my sister and the way my mama, what they've been through, seeing you. I'm always coming to tears, never saying it out loud, but I really, really thank you and really appreciate the way you move, sister. It's with some bravery that I feel like a lot of us could, watch and take
Wow.
heed to.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot. This is a transformation not of our choosing, and it is not easy to stand in it. I know people think it's just cosmetic, but they can underestimate the psychological toll, the stigma, the discrimination, the bullying, and I appreciate your sharing that so much because, as I said, when I revealed that I was living with alopecia, that I think I'm here to take up space, but to create it. And I just want everyone to be able to show up in the world unapologetically, fully, authentically, exactly as you are, without fear and without discrimination. So I know how I'm choosing to show up is disruptive to a lot of people,
Oh yeah.
but from disruption comes progress. So shout out to those queens in your life. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing their story. I'm sending them some love and my whole alopecia squad tribe
Yes,
out
man. I
there.
know. Yes, yes. I just know I done seen them. Man, I almost break down crying sometimes thinking about all the things. So that what I mean, not to beat the dead horse metaphorically, but just wanted to
Yeah,
get that
thank
to you. But
you.
getting
Okay.
into today though, we know that I you know what? I'm just gonna play a video first of
Okay.
you getting into some things, and then we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
Let's see.
First of all, happy Black History Month,
Come on now.
which is American history. There's a sign back there that says Doge actually means dangerous oligarchs grab everything.
I want this to be educational. So before we go, can you describe to the audience when you say oligarchy, what are you
Mhm.
talking about? What does that mean?
Yeah, well, it's what we're experiencing right now. It's this is a government for and by billionaires. It is certainly not for the every working man and woman. It's not for the people who are tuning into your show. It's not for any of us.
Yeah, yeah, and this so people can understand what does Doge actually stand for. What is the acronym that
Okay,
Elon them gave it to?
so Doge, they say it stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. And let me just say this for a second. Listen, I've been in Congress now for 6 years, but before I was in Congress, many years ago, I worked in a government office myself, and we would get calls from people all the time saying, "Look, I was waiting 3 days to hear from the VA. I was on the phone for 5 hours to hear from the Social Security Administration." Like, we recognize with government there is bureaucracy, and there are ways in which things do need to be more efficient to work better for the people, genuinely. But the way to do that is one through Congress, because you can't just stand up random organizations and agencies and then dismantle and dissolve already standing federal agencies. I mean, so I just wanted to give people, like, just to acknowledge, listen, we want government to be more efficient and to work better for the people, but the way to do it is not by randomly firing people, waking up one day and just deleting the Department of Education, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and so forth and so on.
And to the people that's watching this, I think it's very important for us to really point out the impacts and implications that everyday Americans and how they're being impacted, especially when it comes to their jobs. We know that all of us at the end of the day want to be able to put foods in our mouths and want to be able to pay them bills. And when your livelihood is being called into question, I think that it makes it where people kind of go into drastic measures. This.
Yeah,
She
because
goes on to say more though, guys.
no,
Hold on
no,
one
no.
minute.
Yeah,
Hold,
no,
hold,
for real. Yeah, people need to. I mean, because then it's just about surviving.
It's about surviving, and what we know is that our most people gonna do what they gotta do to survive. A lot of people will be willing to be criminalized, and some people might not get criminalized for what they try to do, man. But just
Well, ain't that the truth? I am so tired of these billionaire boys and their grubby little hands grabbing at everything. Hands off our bodies, hands off our data, hands off our tax refunds, hands off our social security checks, hands off our constitution, hands off our democracy, hands off.
and it's because I know some people some people might not be as aware of who you are and how you get down, especially when we lead in talking about you being a congresswoman. So the reason why I wanted y'all to see that video is to really deal with the real person that we talking to right now, and not necessarily where you assume all Congress people got to be all buttoned up. She said some real shit that I think that all of us should really just sit with. With that being said, how can we really push back on how Elon Musk is using taxpayers' dollars, and how can we kind of push back in how Trump is giving him this power?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I love what you were saying there, Conscious, about the fact that people will do things to survive, and that will be criminalized. But then the people that are actual criminals, there's no accountability. What Elon Musk is doing is criminal. It is reckless. It is lawless. And it is unprecedented. It is we've never experienced a power grab like this. And that is exactly what it is. It is a power grab. And it's lawless because it's unconstitutional. When they're talking about, separately, federal freezes of money that Congress has already voted on and appropriated, that is unconstitutional.
Right.
And so, Conscious, one of the things that I keep doing in order to go forward, I keep looking back. And I just keep reminding people we are in the civil rights movement right now, right? It's not over. We're still in it. So I look back, and Dr. King said that it's important that we dramatize the evil and that organizing is our most powerful weapon. So if this is an unprecedented power grab, we have to match their energy. That's what I'm focused on. How do we match their energy? We can't walk around like what they are proposing and the ways in which they seek to overwhelm us by rolling out these lawless executive actions, 70 plus in 30 days. We can't think that these things are an inevitability. They are not. So we have to litigate. We need to use the courts as a defensive strategy, because that's the antidote in this moment to the lawlessness of this hostile administration and this weaponized Supreme Court, both of which are anti-Blackness on steroids. So litigation, that's the first thing, the courts, that's how we push back. Legislation, and I'm going to say oversight, because that's one of the committees I serve on, is the Committee on Oversight and Reform. And our job, the reason why I was at that rally that day in front of the Department of Treasury, is to conduct real-time oversight, which is to hold the government and agencies accountable where there is corruption, where there's fraud, and where there is abuse. Now, allegedly, that's what Elon Musk is doing. Allegedly, that's what he's doing.
I'm about to say, let's sit with them three words.
He is actually the perpetrator, right? I mean, right? So oversight is oversight of fraud, corruption, and abuse. And who is the biggest perpetrator of that in this moment? Donald Trump's co-president, not elected by anybody, not accountable to anybody, operating with unchecked power. So we have to conduct that real-time oversight, dramatize the evil, make sure people understand exactly what they're doing. And when I say evil, look, yesterday we voted on a budget resolution,
right,
that means a $1 trillion cut in these critical safety nets in healthcare that most people, participating, that are in your audience, they use. I mean, Medicaid. This is about people's health care, in their states. This is about disabled veterans. This is about a mother who feeds her child using SNAP benefits.
Definitely.
This is about low-income families that need to be able to access Head Start, because without it, their child won't have childcare. So all of that is at the table, is on the line.
Definitely on the line. But you said something that I think that a lot of people in my audience, and I feel like throughout this country, of people that's still processing what happened in November, is the idea of being able to match the energy. I feel like a lot of us on social media sometimes think that, our representatives on the left get caught up in respectability politics too much sometimes and don't want to match the energy, especially when it comes to getting, like, rolling them sleeves up and getting dirty. We're acknowledging that they're supposed to be alleviating. You said abuse, fraud, and what else?
Yeah.
Fraud,
corruption,
fraud, abuse, and corruption.
Yeah, corruption, fraud, and abuse. That is the role of the Committee on Oversight. To be in efficient and effective pursuit of the truth. We're looking for the receipts in everything, and normally that would happen in a committee hearing room. But we're taking this to the streets because that's where we have to, peacefully. But we have to litigate, use the courts in a defensive strategy. We have to legislate, so use the power of our pen as lawmakers to stop what they're doing, but also to continue to, advance, like, where we need to be as a country, like our North Star, where we want to go, which is why I did reintroduce a reparations bill. And then, like I said, conduct oversight, but we have to agitate. We have to agitate and we have to organize. And I don't want people, I know folks are like, why? They're always like name calling and all this kind of stuff. Listen, I don't know what choice I have. There is not a Republican Party. There is a cult of cowards who are being complicit in the harm to the people of this country in every way, right? When you're passing a budget resolution just last night, that's going to slash Medicaid by $1 trillion with a T, and pave the way for a massive tax giveaway to Trump's billionaire donors like Elon Musk, that's an oligarchy.
Oh, God.
Right?
And we seen Elon this morning or last night when he walked his son in, talking specifically about being able to eliminate $1 trillion. And I thought, like, bro, you're talking about cutting $1 trillion from the American budget. At the same time, you're about to become the world's first trillionaire. You're also talking about cutting a specific dollar amount from waste within the government. Meanwhile, you making how much money a day in waste? So for me, the question becomes, how come when the government allocates you money, Elon, it's not seen as waste or fraud or waste? You know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. But when they're giving other people money, it's called into question. I thought, like, hold on, when President Biden was giving you subsidies, you ain't see no issue with that. But the other departments that Biden, you know what I'm saying, created, you feel like they were always already fraud and scamming and
that's
scheming?
right. Yeah, no, you're teaching right here. But that's why it's important that we conduct oversight, because we have to expose the hypocrisy. Again, this so-called Department of Government Efficiency, y'all tell me what is efficient about people being hungrier because we're going to eliminate SNAP benefits. Y'all tell me what's more efficient about more people being unhoused because we're laying off indiscriminately federal workers, and the work that they do and the grants that they help to advance mean that we can build more housing that is affordable. Y'all tell me what's more efficient about people being hungrier, poorer, less safe, and sicker when you're talking about slashing Medicaid, that healthcare that's essential to a veteran in your state, or any person, any low income person that's in need. So we just have to match their energy. If their strategy conscious is to flood the zone, to overwhelm us with so many actions that we're just like, they want us to be drinking from a fire hose. We just can't keep up. And then they want us to overwhelm so that we'll sit down and just accept these things as an inevitability. But we cannot be indifferent. And we cannot, in this moment, we're going to have to save ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And in saving ourselves, sometimes for me, I think that as a community, and I'm not talking about the black community, I'm talking about, I feel like within the progressive community, sometimes we become reactionary. In 2025, right now, how can we gear ourselves a little bit easier and smoother to think about the midterm election coming up in 2026 and to make it where we ain't behind the 8 ball? Because I hate feeling like I'm giving a knee-jerk reaction or something. I should have been thinking strategically before I even, you feel me, had to think about responding to it.
Yeah, but extend some grace to yourself, okay? Because again, when they're overwhelming us and we're operating from a place of fight or flight, and when you're saying, "Listen, I've got to weigh in. I've got to try to stop all of these assaults because this is about my family. This is about my neighbor. This is about my community because they're coming for everybody." So I'm gonna ask you to extend some grace to yourself. They do mean for us to be reactionary and less strategic. So here's the three things I think about as someone who studies movements, and specifically the civil rights movement. Every movement needs three things. And it's going to take a movement to beat back these attacks and for Democrats to get the gavel back and be back in power. You need imagination. So what and I know, listen, I'm an Aquarius, and I know we just came out of Aquarius season. Okay, but let me just say this as an Aquarius, radical work begins with a radical dream. And I think sometimes we act like dreaming is a really hokey thing. But do you think that Harriet Tubman's dreams of freedom, was that a hokey thing? You need a literal North Star that is going to compel you to summon what is necessary to stay in that fight. So we're doing radical work, but that radical work begins with a radical dream. So some people are going to say, you know what? In this moment, we need to moderate our aspirations. We need to restrict and limit and diminish our dreams. I disagree, because I think the reason why we're in the situation we're in now, Conscious, one of the reasons is when Democrats have the power, we don't use it. We don't use it in pursuit of that radical dream, because the Democrats have had the House, we've had the Senate, we had the White House. What if we had been putting out, dozens of executive actions in mere days that were about getting us to and actualizing that radical North Star for universal child care, for paid leave, for massive investments in affordable housing, for climate justice, right? When you have the power, you have to use it, because scared power ain't power at all. So every movement needs imagination. So we have to continue to radically dream. We have to have a North Star. The second thing every movement needs is strategy.
Yeah.
Right? And Conscious, if I'm being real, you're a part of that strategy. This is about, I believe the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power, driving and informing the policy making. We got to stay close to the pain by being proximate to the pain. That's how we better understand how it's all connected, but it's also how we harness the best solutions. If I come on here and I'm listening to you actively and I'm talking to you and the people who are a part of your community, that's making me a better lawmaker. That's directly informing my strategy. And we got to pay attention to this, fool, because Dr. King also told us to study the words of our oppressors to inform our strategy. Okay, so we need imagination. Right? We got to have a radical imagination and a dream, a North Star. We need strategy. And so we're going to have to be like innovative, flexible, and do things we've never done before. And then the final thing is, this is a hard one, stamina. And we struggle with this right now, y'all, because, boycotts, we're tired. And what do you do when there's a deficit of hope and faith and trust and people are tired? And so boycotts and things of that nature are really short-lived, so we need imagination, strategy, and stamina. And then the other thing I want to say to you is that we cannot do the work, since you brought up the midterm specifically, which is 13 months away. We can't do the work of engagement and community only in an election cycle. So again, taking it back to King, when he in that final book, and he said, where do we go from here? Chaos. Right now, we're in a season of chaos, corruption, and cruelty, or community. Dr. King said, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? We have to choose community every time. Definitely. We have to choose community, and we have to do the work. This is why what you're doing is so important, Conscious, because there's so much no information or misinformation or disinformation, people need to be well informed. They have to stay engaged. They have to be informed, and we have to do that work of organizing, of mutual aid, of information sharing all the time.
Definitely.
And I also want to encourage people. Let me make sure I get my numbers right here. Listen, the Capitol Switchboard, where I work.
I got you for that.
You got it? Okay, cool. Because I know people keep saying, what can we do? What can we do? Okay, excellent. These are ways in which you all can engage actively, and don't just listen. Call, your elected officials. If they're, Democrats, definitely hold us accountable. But please do keep in mind that the Republicans only have a 2-person majority. So if we just get just 2 people, so that's like it's a technical majority. But if we're able to move any of them, so for example, Elon Musk has his grubby little hands on our data, right? We introduced a bill, that the Data Protection Privacy Act. We just need 3 Republicans to support that, and then we could pass that bill, right? So I just, again, do not buy into the idea that these proposals, that they are inevitabilities. We have the courts where we've been winning a lot of those fights. We have the tool of legislation, where if we can just get 3 people of conscience, from 3 people of conscience, right, across the aisle, there's legislation that we can move to stop these attacks and these assaults. And then finally, we have to continue to organize. So litigate, legislate, organize. And I'm gonna agitate some too, because
Yeah, we gotta agitate some, because we gotta have that little healthy pushback.
Absolutely.
Hey, for y'all that's watching, this conversation is live. I'm gonna say it again. This conversation is live. It's not pre-prepped. It's not pre-recorded. The conversation is live. The reason why I'm telling y'all that is because I feel like a lot of us feel that sometimes our elected officials are so distant from the people that it doesn't, that it gets in the way of how we're able to relate. She said something in here about how policymakers are coming to us to learn more about how to create better policy. You feel me? With that being said, we know that our climate right now is real ugly towards legislation about, I'm gonna call Black autonomy. Before I play this clip,
okay,
why do we think, or why do you think specifically the time is now to propose a bill about reparations?
You gonna play a clip, or you want me to go?
Actually, I'll play the clip first, so people know what's going down.
Told you I was live.
Rice, sugar, tobacco, cotton. And even after the Civil War, emancipation, and the 13th Amendment, the legacy of slavery endured in other forms, codified in law to deny Black Americans freedom, opportunity, and dignity. And that's what brings us here today. This brutality, these injustices, these horrors were not things just happened within the culture by osmosis. They were legislated. Today, with Donald Trump and Republicans waging their coordinated and at times unlawful assault on Black folks and Black history, we will not allow that history to be erased. We will not allow it to be whitewashed. H.R. 40 is a powerful reminder of the work that remains and offers us a pathway toward truth, reconciliation, and accountability.
Reparation, truth, and accountability. So, why now?
Well, it's long overdue. There is also incredible momentum around the country. There are dozens of municipalities that currently have reparations committees or a task force. Some cities that are already doing the work of redress, that are already doing the work of truth and reconciliation and reparative work, either through resources, compensation, or in other ways. And, we find ourselves in a moment, I don't think people talk enough, in my opinion, about the ways in which we are complicit in anti-Black racism. And I think that's because people delegitimize the pain of Black people. It's become this like conflated. So why can you see what's happening in Ukraine and be upset, but see what's happening in Haiti and not be upset? It's just become this conflated part of our identity and the consciousness of people. Black people are suffering, but that's what they do. They suffer. But again, this is suffering these injustices are things that were legislated. And so I believe if you can legislate hurt and harm, you can legislate healing. You can legislate justice.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. The bar. If you can legislate hate and harm, you
Yeah,
can legislate healing.
yeah, you can. You can. So we're navigating this like, you know, this dynamic right now with anti-blackness on steroids. It started with this weaponized Supreme Court. They overturned 50 years of precedents on affirmative action in higher ed. Then we had, even with the decision of striking down Roe v. Wade, that has a disparate impact, on black women, right?
Yeah.
And has increased our black maternal morbidity crisis. If you talk about the vestiges of slavery from, Jim Crow, redlining still persists. Conscious, I was the lead negotiator in the House on student debt cancellation, which is a racial justice issue. Why do black students borrow more and default more? It's because our families don't have generational wealth. This is not, if we live in a so-called meritocracy, so-called, and education is the equalizer, but because of the cost, it's farther and farther out of reach for people. Black students are going to borrow and default at higher rates. That's because we don't have generational wealth. We don't have generational wealth because of denied access to the Homestead Act, to the GI Bill, right? So in a moment of anti-blackness, sort of cumulatively, what should be the response to that? If they're anti-black, we need to be pro-black.
Definitely.
So why now? Because it's long overdue. There's momentum, and we shouldn't allow that momentum to be disrupted. And like I said, we still have to continue to radically dream. We still have to continue to have that imagination. So some people are like, why would you introduce HR 40 now? The Republicans, they have the trifecta. They have the majority in the House, the Senate, and they have the White House. How are you even going to move this? But again, should I not introduce a thing because it's hard? Are we going to stand on business and as Democrats, introduce things that affirm the country we want to live in? Because it's not enough for us to just have a Kendrick Lamar, response that they ain't like us.
Yeah.
That is not enough. It's not enough for us to just simply say we ain't them. That's not enough. We still have to be affirming who are we? Who are we as Democrats? And what is the country that we believe is possible? Let me tell you what I think is possible. I think another world is possible where Black boy joy is a rite of passage. Mm-hmm. I think another world is possible where Black men grow old. Right. I think another world is possible where you can be Black and birthing and feel loved and sacred and safe. And that is a right and not a privilege. I think another world is possible where pursuing higher education doesn't mean a lifetime of debt.
Man.
I think another world is possible where our babies have drinkable water and breathable air.
Yeah.
So we cannot moderate, we cannot diminish, we cannot shrink in that radical dream and that pursuit. And HR 40 is a part of that. And what it is it would establish a federal commission to study the impacts of slavery. And then there's a 15-member commission that would submit proposals. They would have 18 months to do their work. So I know your audience is going to be like, what we need to study reparations for? Why do we need to study slavery? People say, why do we need to study slavery? Because in order for us to advance holistic reparative proposals, we need to first understand its impact in every way, how that shows up in our healthcare system, how that shows up in housing, how that shows up in a $10 trillion wealth gap. So in order for us to get at this holistically, we need thoughtful, holistic, comprehensive proposals. That would be the work of the commission. And again, they would do that work for 18 months. There'd be a finite period for them to do that work. It's a 15-member commission. And I think since the federal government played a role in our oppression, they should actively play a role in our justice. And that's why we need a federal commission.
Definitely. And for the people that's watching, something that she pointed out I feel like very smoothly and kept it going. But when we talk about reparations, it's not marketed, or it's not stuck in the past only on the plantation. We were able to get at different policies, legislations that the government has been able to codify and disproportionately impact people that literally happened after the plantation. When I think about reparations, I think about how it was state-sanctioned violence. And when it
Right.
comes to us living this black experience in this country, it is not just state sanctioned on the plantation. That's something very important. I think that is a misnomer for a lot of us in the public to think that we just want to get something from the past that we didn't experience. Though I just push back on that as well. That's not what we're saying. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Some might say, you feel me? I know you ain't got a lot of time, but just I found out that my current health insurance company was also operating during the plantation. And I think about how we live in a system of capital where we are taught to value how we distribute wealth and how we pass on wealth from generation to generation, which is why we have so many individuals that's willing to fight for the farm, fight for the home, fight for the business because they feel like they entitled to it because granddaddy and them left it for them. And then I think about what you're getting into. I got like $100,000 of school debt. 100,000, first generation college student. And I think about how my college classmates had the funds to be able to take care of what they didn't take care of, and I was sending money for commissary and in a release day. Mama and daddy was in jail when I was in college. You know what I'm saying? And I just sit here and think about everything going on and about how black people uniquely are chastised. I feel like for wanting our justice.
Yeah, conscious. Yeah. Well, and I think because that was a mini TED talk right there. You know, please don't take the genius of this brother for granted. I need to see a little bit more commentary in the chat. Let me just say that. Yeah, I know I have to get going for votes, but I'll just end here and just say this, conscious. Again, you articulated that so well. If the people in this country are still benefiting from an economy that was built on our backs, then why shouldn't this country actively do the work of repair when they are benefiting from our labor, an economy that we created, and we are still experiencing the impacts of slavery all around us?
Right.
And that's why you're sitting on all that debt, because even though Black Americans, we have had gains in income, we have not had gains in generational wealth.
Yes.
And that is the difference. Gains in income, but not wealth. So it's all around us, the vestiges of slavery. And that's why the time is now. It's HR 40. That's the legislation. Shout out to the two incredible Black lawmakers that came before me in this work, Congressman John Conyers, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. May they both rest in power. I had to name them because it's a Black History Month and we're not going to let erasure happen here. But I'm glad to take up the mantle and continue to do this work in the name of our full liberation and freedom.
Yes, and we having this I'm in Houston right now, so definitely rest in peace to, you know what I'm saying, Sheila. Man, listen, definitely. It's Black History Month, y'all. I hope this talk, you know what I'm saying, with Congresswoman has been educational. I hope you've been able to learn a little bit more about the reparations bill, but also about them three things she said and how we're able to move forward. You know what I'm saying? This video
litigate, legislate. Litigate, legislate, agitate, organize. And what does the movement need? Imagination, strategy, and stamina, y'all.
Yeah, I ain't got much to add into it. I will be coming back to y'all though. I feel like in a nice little educational analysis lecture about structural violence and how our legislation is implicated in structural violence. But I'm gonna all talk about this and how King Cotton, how black people of labor was able to help the American empire become a part of the international community and money. Because it was broke. They were broke. They were broke. But because we were able to give so much labor, you feel me, that was not paid, it allowed for them to literally turn a profit. They ain't had no overhead. You know, so they became King Cotton and got up in there. But she know this though. I'm gonna share it for y'all, and if y'all don't know, if you do know, feel free to contribute to the comment section. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's been real. Yes.
Thank you, Congress. I'm sorry, my ring light keeps going out on me here, and they got to give me the votes. But I look forward to I look forward to that conversation as well. Yeah, thank you so much for teaching the people, for keeping them informed, empowered, and engaged. I hope to be back again. I believe the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power, driving and informing the policy making. Thank you all for being my teachers. All
Yeah.
right, I gotta go vote.
Oh yeah, y'all know we're gonna bring her back for our Palestine talk. We're gonna bring her back for the Palestine talk. We're gonna say that though. She gotta go. Thank you for being here.
My
Spontaneous percussion.
I really lied though. I never thought that talking the shit that I do and quote unquote speaking truth to power would land my country as a conversation on my platform with Congresswoman, with a congressperson, period. You know what I'm saying? I know we talk a lot about being radical and about, you know what I'm saying, being a sellout and about reifying the system. But something that she said that made me think about my young college self is that if black people are some of the people that is most impacted by law and impacted by legislation, I think that we should try to impact how that goes. I'm not making an argument by saying we're going to change the system by being inside the system. But what I know is that if I don't conform to a law, you feel me? If I don't abide by a law, there's gonna be disparate impacts and implications for me, my livelihood, and my freedom. You know what I mean? So when it comes to thinking about how our policy making system operates, or thinking about how Democrats and Republicans is caught up in imperialism or Israel, Palestine, it's like still important to think about how us as people, especially black people, are impacted by the everyday functionality of the law. And thinking about not only like reparations, you know what I'm saying, but thinking about how we pay them bills, thinking about the roads we, you know what I'm saying, get on, and think about how there are certain things that we have to take in control and not just merely call our local congressperson to call our local official. You feel me? Very, very grateful for the conversation that I've had with, you know what I'm saying, Dr. Congresswoman, and hope to have more conversations with y'all. We can have our elected officials come have a real, raw, organic conversation that is for the people, to the people, and not necessarily to their donors or corporations. You know what I'm saying? Big shout out again to Ayanna Pressely's team, Congresswoman's team. I'm about to go process this, y'all. Make sure y'all stay tapped in though, man. Don't let's not wait until we are 6-9 months from the midterm election and start thinking about the impacts of it.